Good day everyone. So this is a long video and timestamps are in the description. So we're going to be talking about two things today: Kokomi attack speed guide and of course how to use Kokomi as a main DPS in the Spiral Abyss. So let's get into part one. With attack speed, Kokomi is like one of those characters that benefits quite a lot from it. And what we want to find out today is how does a Kokomi with 0 attack speed increase all the way up to 47% like compare. And we'll do this in certain increments. The first increments obviously with Kokomi's C4, which you can see here gives you an additional 10% attack speed, which is nice because that means your C1 comes out just a bit more often and you can heal even faster. So her C4 actually works so well with C3, C2 and C1. It's absolutely like amazing. And of course if you've got her at C6, well, now you get more hydro damage bonus, which then makes your C1 do more damage, and via your C4 you're also doing more damage, which is just absolutely amazing. So you can see here all of Kokomi's constellations aren't just slapped on, they work really well. An additional source of attack speed is of course Jean C2, and you can see here we get 15% increased attack speed. It's quite crazy for 15 seconds whenever Jean just gets an elemental particle. And let's not forget Yunjin, the latest character. If you've got her at C6, then whenever she uses her elemental burst, then for those 12 seconds that you can see on screen, we gain an additional 12% attack speed. That is really quite good, but there's an additional source as well if you really want to go all the way, and that is with elemental resonance. So if you've got two Anemo characters in your party, you gain an additional attack speed of 10%, reduced stamina and skills cooldowns, which is really not too bad, although double Anemo is a bit impractical in most cases. So what we're going to do is we just want to see now, how does a base Kokomi sort of compare? Well, I obviously have to jump onto my alt account because I've got C4 active and I can't disable it. So here you can see on my alt account I've got a C1 Kokomi, and all we want to find out is how many cycles can we do just on our own. So let's count it together. And that's 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 3 cycles, 4, 5, and that's about it. So it's about 5 cycles. In other words, you get about 20 attacks, so 5 times 4. Alright, now let's see how does a C4 Kokomi compare. Let's count it. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and hey, that's not too bad. So that's about 5.5 or 22. If you can get the ping a bit down, you might be able to squeeze in that extra one. Of course it will depend, but let's say about 22, so hence again about 10%. Now let's add in Yunjin, so this will now be 22% attack increase, and let's count together. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's not too bad. So that is about 6. In other words, about 24. Again, depending on a bit of ping, you could get 24, 25, 26 in that area, roughly about 22% extra. So let us see now if we go all the way with Jean as well, and just use Zhongli for a bit of interruption resistance. So there's Jean, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that is not too bad. So that gave us about 7. Perhaps you could get like 7.25. Again, it does depend a bit on ping. So that's about 28. Not too bad. Right, so in summary, you could basically increase the sets that Kokomi can do from 5 like sort of sets all the way up to 7 or about 8 if you're really lucky with the ping. And yeah guys, that's it for part 1 of this guide. So this is how you set up attack speed, and I think now it's time to sort of put this into practice, and let's see what will happen if we go into the Spiral Abyss. So for part 2, we're going to be discussing Kokomi main DPS Spiral Abyss, and obviously what I'll do is I'll show you the team that I think might be suitable for doing this. And here we can see we just sort of teleported right to the Spiral Abyss, and let's just draw up the character menu. So here's my Kokomi, and this will be the stats that I'm using. I'll only need about 122 energy recharge because Everlasting Moonglow also increases the amount of energy that you can restore, and if you now pair this with the attack speed increase, you can restore even more energy on your elemental burst, which is really nice. This is obviously in contrast to the Prototype Amber, so you can actually match like Prototype Amber with an R1 Moonglow. You just need a bit of attack speed. The other thing that a lot of people don't really realize is that because Everlasting Moonglow gives you like that healing bonus, that actually translates into more DPS. And if you look at Nereid's Ascension, effectively that gives you like an additional couple of talents. If you do the maths, you get about like 7 talents or so from just using Everlasting Moonglow. And obviously it's got more attack stats and HP and all these sorts of things compared to Prototype Amber. So for a main DPS Kokomi, it's pretty good. These are just my Jean and Yunjin stats, and then obviously we need a sub DPS, and that's going to be Miss Fisher right here. You'll see, since she's the only Electra, I'm just going to run a bit of energy recharge, and yeah, that is going to be it. So let us see how this little team of Fisher, Jean, Kokomi, and Yunjin will actually perform in the Spiral Abyss. This will be a sort of single take run, and I'm just going to sort of commentate. Obviously we're not going to try and go for the fastest sort of clearing time, but hey, we're just going to try and see how far we can get. And then I want to point out a couple of things. First thing is, if you're going to run Kokomi main DPS, always choose effective healing, because that's going to translate into more damage, and it's just going to make you more tanky and pretty much literally immortal. So to start off with, Fischl, she's so quick in her normal attacks, we can take full advantage of the buff. There's Jean, does the swirl, Yunjin, and now let's go into Kokomi. Oops, I can see my alt tab didn't work, probably a bit of packet loss that we got there. And as you can see, we're doing about 26k autos, which is really nice. 24, 23, and of course the Viridescent Venerous set obviously expired at that point. And look at my Kokomi's elemental burst, she's almost ready for round 2, and we just get that attack speed buff, and now we can go into Kokomi and we can do it. But I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to actually swap into Kokomi, because if I do so, I'll be over attacking, and if I over attack, then I won't have my elemental burst ready. So this is always one of those things that obviously if my Fischl had been a bit stronger, we could have chipped away at more health, but it doesn't matter, as you guys will see. There we go, and now we are again in the Pounding Seed, Oz, the swirl, everything, and we're just melting him. And look at that, we're just going to melt this perpetual mechanical array. Look at that, 30k autos, pretty fast, pretty insane. Here's Oz. And now all we can do is, since we've got a bit of time left on the clock, we generally try to aim for like 1:30. We can just sort of build up some of those elemental bursts for the next floor. So in this case, we're wasting time, and hence that'll allow us to save time on the next floor. That is also a very cool concept. So yeah, not the fastest clear by any stretch, but at least we are now quite comfortable and ready for the next iteration or the next floor, and we can do so. Since it's a single take run, you'll just see team 2 just in the background here, but hopefully it's quite obvious sort of how you want to run Kokomi as the main DPS. You want to have some sort of off-field DPS, and I think Fischl is a very great addition. Beta won't really work that well, but of course if you've got that attack speed, it's quite useful, because now you can prop Beto's elemental burst like a lot more. So that is one of the criticisms of using Beto and Kokomi at like C0, is that Kokomi does sort of desync with Beto, which is not really that good, but if you've got attack speed, then that desync is no more. The other thing is this is the thing that a lot of people didn't really take into consideration of Kokomi, and that is because you can run Viridescent Venerous set, you could also run Kazuha with Kokomi. So you can easily replace Jean in this team comp with Kazuha, and I think especially if you're like a C0 or C1 Kokomi main, that can benefit you quite a lot if you use this exact same team. And that's because Kazuha, through his Elemental Mastery, if you build them up to about 1000, will give you that additional 40% hydro damage bonus, which is in essence a C6 Kokomi like damage. So it's definitely viable if you've got a well invested Kazuha for you to do this sort of run, this sort of play style. Here you can see I'm just going to choose attack percentage because it's just going to benefit Fischl, and the others won't really do anything else. Again, look at how quickly Fischl can just do those normal attacks. Absolutely amazing, because now we're just reducing the rest, and you can see a very simple game loop. Get the elemental orb for Jean, try and alt tab, not like me. So if you alt tab, you immediately switch into your elemental burst, which is really nice. I like it. It's a fantastic technique. And here you can see we're just sort of damaging the Primo Bishop, and surprise, because we've got Yunjin, we can actually take a bit of an advantage of the game mechanics and reduce the Primo Bishop's health for free, which is always appreciated. So here we're going to go. We're just going to quickly build up our elemental burst and all the things. And look at that. Almost everyone is back online again. It is pretty insane. And here we go. I'm just going to refresh ours. And we are not going to run Jean. We just want to save her up for the later floors. And here we go. Just smashing. You can see here we're doing quite a bit of damage. It's absolutely amazing. And now, since we've got some time on the clock and some time to burn, let's just quickly build up our burst for the final floor. So while this is going on in the background, one of the things about this amazing team comp, as you can see here, is that we've got that off-field DPS, we've got Kokmi doing the main damage, but of course the team itself is sort of very well rounded in terms of its ability to heal, to tank, and to deal a lot of like damage. Obviously it's not as hyper focused as something like the Rider National, which is purely like about dishing out insane amounts of damage, but it is a very comfy team. There's a bit of strategy involved, but it is quite fun to run, and I would sort of like recommend it if you're like seriously just wanting to run Kokomi as a main DPS. I think a lot of people in this sense have also misunderstood Kokomi, because they've said, well, you know, the character doesn't really crit, and any character that doesn't crit is bad. But here's the thing about crit rates and crit damage that not a lot of people talk about. You can't just look at the numbers, you need to look at the expected amount of crit damage that you're going to do. In other words, you need to multiply the crit rate by your crit damage to get your effective crit damage that you're going to do. So let's say you've got a 50% crit rate and 200% crit damage. Well, in essence, you're only going to be doing that 200% half of the time, and this might even come at a point where you're trying to do like that big flashy Eula like burst, and you just don't crit, which is quite unfortunate. And this is the thing about Kokomi. Because she doesn't need crit rate, all of her damage is pretty consistent. Which is really nice, because if you've got these consistent numbers, you can actually plan around, you can tweak the builds, you can find a very good soft spot in terms of how much damage you want it to do. It's the same with her healing as well. It's all sort of guaranteed numbers, and that's what makes it like so fun and interesting to draft like Kokomi teams. And yeah, you can see we're certainly not lacking any DPS. Again, it's not record breaking, it's not going to go on to Tony Toe or anything like that, but it is very comfortable, and you can see we're just cruising along. And if we had like enemies like more Rift Hounds, or enemies that could bypass shields, deal true damage, all these things, then this team I think would be able to survive a lot better than something like the Rider National, where you would probably have to rely on getting those elemental bursts up just to iframe all the damage. But you can see very comfortable, very easy clear time, 8:52. That is roughly about the ballpark that you should get for a strong F2P team. Of course, if you're running a very well built Rider National, you could do that in about 9 minutes. Sorry, not within 1 minute. In other words, you've got 9 minutes on the clock left. Sorry about that. But yeah, otherwise, this is Kokomi main DPS, and it is incredibly fun. It's something different. It's not something a lot of people would probably recommend, but if you are someone that really loves Kokomi and likes making the most out of the character, then this is certainly one way to go about it. Obviously, this is not the only team, and I think there are people that can give you like better variants. If you're a hardcore player, obviously Sukokumon can work for you, but if you're like me and you just want to relax and have a good time in the Abyss without stressing too much, then yeah, that is the team for you. And hey, yeah, there's Raiden Shogun just finishing off the enemy with a bit of style at the end. So, as we come to a conclusion, what did we go over today? Well, we looked at attack speed and how Kokomi benefits from it. And we've also seen that if you just give Kokomi a bit of resources, she can actually do quite a bit of damage for someone that heals, can tank, do off-field hydro. I mean, she is pretty strong as an all-round unit, and that's what I absolutely love about this character. Hopefully, you guys also come to love this character as much as I have. She's definitely absolutely like a breath of fresh air. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.